I'm going to quickly run through some of the popular trends that I see that people are looking for when I'm out showing houses. Not that every single person is looking for the same thing, but generally I would say across the board people are looking for low maintenance. So no one's really looking for a pressure treated deck anymore, okay? They would much rather have the new plastic wood materials, the plastic railings, the plastic fences. They want stone patios instead of wooden decks because they're sick and tired of painting them and sanding them and replacing the rock. Okay, so if you're going to be fixing something or changing something, spend the extra and do it that way. If you look at all the condos being built right now, there's not a single one of them putting wood anywhere on their structures, okay? And I know we're at the Urban Forestry Center, we're very much into trees, but wood is not in for maintenance for most homeowners, okay? So stone steps, if there were one thing I was going to change in my house, the only place where my whole patios are, I put wooden steps with wooden railings down. I must spend $500 a year staining, sanding, sealing, painting, okay? When they hit total rot, they are going in stone, okay? I don't care what it costs because I know I'm spending more money in the long run. These are the types of things: barbecue pits, outdoor sitting areas, pergolas. I think people like the look of that. You know, it's giving them a little shade without putting too much, blocking too much space into, there's too much sun coming into the house. I'm seeing a lot more of that going in. This is a specialty item, but people seem to like a little bit of water, whether it's a little fountain. I see a lot of these right up here. Going in. Some people like koi ponds, but I'm seeing far more of that in the last few years than I ever saw before. More people are into feng shui, okay? A lot more interest in raised bed vegetable, herb gardens, composting pile, using organic materials. A lot more people starting to ask if there's been pesticides used on the lawns, okay? So there's a growing, especially, and I'm talking from our neck of the woods, but in our neck of the woods, a lot of people want to grow their own vegetables. They want to have an herb garden. And so putting money into something like that, I think people are looking for. It's not overwhelming to them. It's not like having you plow the back 40, okay? Then I'm going to talk, there's two basic strategies when you're looking at doing landscaping changes. One is, I'm about to put my house on the market, okay? The massive plan is probably not in your area. So if you're moving very soon and I come in and I look at your house, you say, what should I do landscaping-wise to make it look better? Basically, you're going to trim overgrown shrubs. You're going to weed your gardens. I think one of the nicest things you do is cut a fresh edge all around your planting beds and your walking. You should be amazed how much that makes your gardens look better and more well maintained. Be sure you're fertilizing regularly so your grass is green and doesn't have all these spots in it. Throw fresh mulch in your gardens, splashes of color with some annuals if you don't have much in bloom. Spend a few $100s on larger perennials and shrubs so it doesn't look like you started yesterday. Don't just have annuals across the front so that there's nothing that's growing, but put a few in there if you have it. And this is an example of a house. That's how it was before they put it on the market, okay? These people were excellent at making things look their best, but just see how just some fresh mulch in the gardens, edging it, getting the grass a little bit greener, shooting some flowers in. It looked very good in every single picture. This picture looks so much better than that picture does, okay? And when you're selling a house, the pictures are 80% of the sales job. If you don't have decent looking pictures inside and outside, then people aren't going to come look at it. And when it looks tired and bland, they assume you don't take good care of it, okay? So just know that the money that you put into something like that will come back to you, and then people jump to go see the ones that look really nice. They look for the ones that are better homes and gardens. Most of you, however, have no plans to move soon, okay? You're looking for a larger, long-range idea of what to do. I would tell you, without a doubt, one of the biggest mistakes I've made, and it's one of the biggest mistakes that Bob Vila says people make, is not to have a long-range plan for all your landscaping. You just throw a tree here, throw a bush here. Someone gives me a peony bush and I look for a place to stick it, okay? And so what you end up with is a very piecemeal, disorganized look to your yard. When you get this, so before you do anything, get somebody who's a professional, who knows trees, to come and look at your entire layout, what you're trying to do long range, so that you don't waste money that you end up ripping out again or undoing. And I can't tell you how much you're going to see that I've had to undo, okay, to really make mine look better. If what they tell you makes you gasp, okay, break it down into phases based on your budget. It doesn't all have to be done this year, but maybe this year is the year you do the front gardens. Maybe next year you put the patio in. But break it down rather than doing a crummy job on everything. And I think that's one of the things I've done. And when you plant trees, if you're not going to be there a long, long time, put the extra money into a tree that's at least 8 foot. When you put those little sticks in the backyard, you won't even live there long enough to enjoy it as a tree. So spend the extra money on putting something that's a little bit bigger in if you're going to add trees. I've lived in houses that had absolutely nothing but sunshine, and then I decided I wanted trees and I moved into the woods, and I was like in a forest. And there's pluses and minuses to both. And I'm right now looking for that happy medium, because all sunshine and no trees, and all trees and no sunshine, neither one is a great environment in my mind. I think the biggest thing across the board that I hear in every single building inspection I go to is that people put their plans too close to their foundations. They need to be at least 6 to 8 feet out, because they're going to grow big. Most houses that I go to a home inspection, the shrubs are touching the siding of the house. You can't even get behind them. And so what that's doing is it's rotting your siding, it's bringing mold against your house. And so you need, Nick talked about the splash section underneath where the rain comes down. You need some gravel, but the plants, the big shrubs start so much further out than you possibly can imagine, which is why you need a professional to help you plant it, because you make those mistakes. You put them where they are right now, and you forget where they're going to grow.
Nancy, can I just
Yeah,
say one thing?
yeah, please do.
So many people just follow what they see their neighbors doing. And the style from 30, 40 years ago was yews and junipers and evergreens, rhododendrons in front of the house and up against the house. They call them foundation plants. Why? Because they're trying to cover up big expanses of foundation. Architects have become smarter. Most houses are now planted, or the houses are planted lower. You don't have these big expanses of foundation. We don't need foundation plants like we used to. And yet people continue to do that. So now you've got these big yews and junipers and rhododendrons up against the paint of the house, and it's making a mess.
Rotting the house.
The perennials and other shrubs, and pull them further away is much more the style now.
Right. And it looks more attractive also. When you're spending money, I would put most of your money where you're actually going to enjoy it, which is your backyard, your living spaces. Don't put everything in your front yard and have no space to hang out in the backyard. You want some curb appeal, but don't forget you want to enjoy this space that you're spending a lot of money to improve. This one, I can't say enough. Only put in swimming pools, tennis courts, basketball courts, those type of things for your own enjoyment. In our neck of the woods, do not expect to get 1 cent back on them, okay? A swimming pool can cost you $25,000 to $50,000. The most an appraiser will even give you is $10,000. probably less in our neck of the woods. They're gonna cost you $3,000 to $5,000 a year to maintain, okay? When you go to sell that house, anyone with small children is afraid they're going to drown, they've ruled your house out. Anyone whose kids are out of school doesn't use the swimming pool usually, it's too much maintenance, they've ruled it out. So you have this age group of about 10-year-old parents to 18-year-old parents, maybe, who are interested in your home. I mean, seriously, I can't tell you how many people, and they're looking at the cost of, say, $10,000 to $15,000 to remove it, okay, and fill it in. So just really know, if you're putting that in, you're putting it in for yourself, okay? And it's just a really, really hard thing to get money back on. And despite what you see in catalogs, okay, if you look at almost any of your front gate and those type of catalogs that come in, they're having these lovely, huge, expansive outdoor living rooms and couches and barbecues and kitchens, and I mean, they practically build another 4,000 square feet of backyard space in some of these catalogs. In our area, if you do not have a screened-in porch, you are building something that they can use for a couple hours in the afternoon. Because the minute the sun goes down, the mosquitoes eat you alive. Not a soul will probably stay out in your yard and enjoy this space, okay? They will all come back into the house. I've had party after party where that happens. So, bare minimum, spend a few $100s and buy one of these and stick it out on your space. But if you don't, but if you don't have something to keep the mosquitoes away, all that energy and all that will look great in your marketing brochures, okay, but you will not use it, and I think you will not be happy with it, so build a screen porch into it. When you design a screened-in porch, and this is that porch for a fairly short period of time, okay, so if you can find any way that you can tuck it behind your garage or some part of your home where you're not blocking the natural light that goes into your house, I think you're going to be much happier with that porch in the long run. If you have to put it somewhere that's going to block some of your light, try to put white ceilings in it, put as many skylights in it as you can to get some of the light still reflected to the house, because you know, most of those houses I have to turn every light on in the middle of the brightest day just to even see when there's a big, lovely screened-in porch right outside of your family room or your new kitchen area. When you go to think about how much you're going to get a return on the amount of money you're going to put into landscaping, especially across the front of your house, there are two categories that are going to get the greatest return. One are the actual blank canvases on the left, people who just built or no one has ever put a shrub in. They're just sitting there. These are very hard to market over here. Okay, they just look bland, they look block. Okay, so any money these people put into landscaping, they will absolutely magnify the amount of return they get. This is where I have a lot more homes that don't think they need landscaping. They're the ones hidden by shrubs. These are the people like in the gray house. You can't even look out the windows anymore. You can't even see this porch anymore. You can barely tell what this cake looks like. And some are so gross you can't even find the house to take a photograph of it. The first picture in any listing sheet is the exterior of the house. If it's not there, people think there's something wrong with it, okay? If you look at MLS and you see a kitchen, you know that the front doesn't look very good, okay? Or if it's the back of the house, you know it's a pretty ugly looking house. So you have to make the front of your house look better. Mine fit more into this category. It wasn't awful, but you know, I came to realize it was more awful than I thought. Okay, so we're going to start with a master plan, and I'm going to have you learn from the mistakes I've made. Okay, first, I never had a total master plan for the entire house. When we bought our house, this is an early version of it, but it was a farm. It had asbestos siding, okay? It had a chicken coop, okay? There was a fence here, but even this house, look how massive those shrubs were back then. This was like when I was a child. This was built in the 40s. This is probably in the 50s somehow. Some of these trees are still here, those are still here. This became a Christmas tree farm, but this was what I started with, okay? And so we started with the asbestos siding came off absolutely first, okay? And we did off to the side the new clapboards and we exposed some of the shingles. But we only had a landscape architect who fit a couple of things. We planned a patio for the back and we planned a walkway for the front. And we put some shrubs, you can see we had no shrubs. Mine actually points, but I'm afraid I'll click it to it. Okay, this one right here, see no shrubs? This is once we put it in, see we have a walkway now? Took me a long time to find a picture of this old. And this is our patio out back with the wooden steps that I hate, okay? And that's all we really had planned. Now, I never really said from the very beginning what was most important to me, okay? If you don't figure out what are you most looking for in landscaping, is it a flat yard for your kids to play ball in? Is it, I decided to me, flower gardens are really important to me, sun is really important to me, and the front of my house, which I don't stare at every day, I look out my office and out my kitchen at my gardens every day. So those gardens are much more important to me than the ones people drive by and, see. So I wanted the front to be pretty easy maintenance, flowering shrubs, etc. But until I actually identified what was most important, I was avoiding things like sun's really important to me, but I had these monster Norway maples in my backyard, and I didn't take them down, okay? So this is probably one of my classics of what I did regularly. It's better to do one thing the right way the first time, and then to not try to fix something else, but wait till the next year. This driveway right here, okay? I could have paid $5,000 and had them dig it up and totally put a new driveway in that would have looked nice. Or I could have paid $3,000 and had them put a second coat. They told me that the cracks would come back, and I'm like, no, they won't. Was I wrong? Within 6 months, all the cracks came back. And so for the next 15 years, I've had seams and black coating. It drives me crazy every single day. I hated it, okay? Because I didn't do it right the first time. If you go back here, I had 8-foot garage doors. They were solid white. If you look now, I've switched to fancier garage doors. That was one of those things. They were too narrow. You could barely get your car in the garage. There was about a ½ an inch on each side of the mirrors, okay? I didn't know back then they only had 8-foot garage doors. It wasn't something I even noticed when I bought it. So now when I'm going to do it, I am going to upgrade to a really nice driveway. This is the last driveway I'm doing in my life. I'm 60 years old and I'm fixing all the things that I know have bugged me the whole time. And my house is slowly transforming how it looks outside. The next major mistake I've made is assuming something costs too much. I thought it would cost a fortune to take the trees down in my backyard. I had these monster Norway maples that shaded my entire gardens, which are my priority, having sunny, beautiful gardens. And so I thought it would cost $5,000 to $6,000 per tree. I thought it would be like a $20,000 bill. When I finally called somebody, they took 6 huge maples, oaks, pine trees, like this one, this skinny thing. They were in front of my house, like up against my house. And first I had people trim them. Then we trimmed them taller. They still looked ugly. There was nothing you could do. I had this thing at the road, where they trim it around the telephone wires, and it starts to get uglier and uglier, okay? And it starts to look like this, but I just kept leaving it there. So they came in $3,650, plus they cabled a tree. They came in one day, big cranes, they cut these puppies down, carried them over the roof of my house, dropped them in the front yard, threw them in the chipper, and in one day, every single thing was gone. The stumps were ground away, and I had sun pouring into my backyard. These big ugly trees in my backyard were gone. In the middle of my field, I had pine trees with shrubs that were blocking my vegetable gardens, and they're all gone for this much money. It may seem like it's not a small number, but I thought it was so big I never did it, okay? And so I'm just saying, figure it out. Maybe you're an artist and have paintings you can trade off for some of this. You never, don't be afraid to ask some of these people, if you have a skill, you may have something you could trade on top of it. So they pulled out shrubs, pruned dead branches, they enhanced my really beautiful sugar maple, and so now my backyard, I love my backyard. So this is where I started. I'm a realtor, I know how to take a fairly good picture and make it look its best. I blocked off the massive ugly pine tree you can't see to the left, okay? But those yews, you couldn't even see my front door. You can't trim a yew down, there's nothing but sticks left. Okay, if you try to make it smaller. The stairs are ugly. They're old poured concrete from the 1940s. The paint was starting to fade. It was getting tired. I had the skinny garage doors. And my fence had started to wobble. It was a wooden one because I'd gone with the cheap, buy the wooden fence, painted 7 times over the next 12 years. So I might have bought the plastic one in the first place. So these were all the things that I was starting with. This is where I'm partway through trying to trim, okay? Off to the right of my garage, which is right over there. When I first called them, I had shrubs so high on ladders I couldn't reach the top of them to trim them anymore. We basil pruned them, which I never even heard of, which is cutting them off at the roots. And by the next year, my forsythia and some of these that are decent are back to manageable, but I didn't know how to do that. And so I just kept working around it.
Nancy, if I can just make sure that everybody knows, most deciduous shrubs, you can do that to them, the shrubs that lose their leaves, the forsythias, regalias, different things like that.
He talks all the fancy names, I don't know what they have.
But trees that lose their, shrubs that lose their leaves, for the most part, will grow back quickly. Not yews, not junipers. Rhododendrons will do it, but not fast, okay? So, you can basil prune a lot of things, and we do that. That's, we call it addition by subtraction. Sometimes you take away a lot, and it increases the value of the place. And a lot of times we'll do it in the late fall.
I had shade on my gardens. I couldn't see my back fields very well. Because see if you see in the backyard right up here, in the middle of my backyard, this was a septic system. It went down like this. Then I had these huge pine trees. I had acres of beautiful fields and deer back there. All I saw were these ugly shrubby things in the middle of my lawn. Who knows what they were there for? And all the trees were blocking it. These guys got about 2 hours of sun in the middle of the day. So now we're going forward. So far, I've painted the house. I've replaced the garage doors with the new carriage style. I've removed the big 6 trees for more sun. I've removed those overgrown yews from the front steps. So we're now ready. We've got a clean palette there. Everything that was over here was nothing but a stubby old scrag. It was nothing. It couldn't grow. It was under the pine trees. And so those are totally all ripped out. The back gardens have been extended into where all these trees came down, because all this used to be trees. I brought in loam so that now I have a flat backyard. My backyard doesn't go like this for the septic system and then up again. It's now leveled. I filled that in. And now I've hired Wiki to do a miniscape and Mick to basically install. And so this is what they're doing to the front of it. And so as I've been looking at it, I'm trying to make my house, which is a 1940s cape, has fairly low ceilings, but it's got new granite kitchens. It's got some most people come and go, oh, this is a much nicer house than I expected it to be. Because from the front of the house, it looks like a little tired old cape, okay? Because I hadn't done anything to fix hardly anything on the front of the house. You have shrubs, and you think they're there, and you think they're okay. Okay, and so then I started driving around Newcastle. If I want to know where expensive, cute little capes are, you drive through Newcastle and you see what are they doing in Newcastle to make cute little capes look expensive, okay? And they certainly have much better driveways, okay? They have cobblestoned or brick driveways. They have lovely brick walkways. They have lovely stone staircases. They have lovely plantings. And so, you know, the paint job was better. So I'm starting through all of those things because the inside of my house does not match the outside of my house, and people judge it by what they look at. And even though you drive this way by my house, when you come this way, I am straight across from the elementary school. So hundreds of people a day come out and stare at the front of my house. I don't, but lots of people do, and it just looks like a tired old house, okay? And now it's going to have its facelift, while, and these are the shrubs that they've identified. You can see they're taking some of my shrubs out, and you might want to describe it with me a little bit, what all this means.
Yeah, I mean, there were some shrubs that were very nice specimens, beautiful. They're the type of shrubs that you can actually move and will survive.
Boxwoods were one of them.
For example, she had two, and so those two actually just got moved to either side of the front steps. And
The ones that
so
were
we're trying
here,
to
going
use
here.
as many things as possible without, you know, forcing the design because of it. A couple of extra boxwoods in a different shape were added, so it's to match, but not be exactly the same thing. It's a couple things we're just looking for.
And I will say, one of the things that a lot of people don't, a shrub that they don't know, but it's a native shrub, witch hazel. It's one thing, it's sort of a signature for Wiki. And witch
It's on the
hazel,
next page,
there it is.
this thing
Top
up
left,
here.
okay? And that's snow on the ground. Witch hazels will flower in late February, early March.
And they put
People-
it right here.
So we're
Where the
trying to
old
get
pine
a
tree was.
continuum of flowering starting in February. Witch hazel will do that in February in the right year. A lot of people say, oh, isn't that funny, there's a forsythia that's blooming out in sequence. What happened there? It's not a forsythia, it's a witch hazel. It's a bigger, half tree, half shrub, but it's a great looking.
It's, to me, one of the best values out there for plants, because you've got January, if you want, you can pick some of the stems and bring them inside and they'll force in your house. It smells wonderful. February, these tight little knots of the yellow strings just burst open and they look like cheerleaders pom-poms all over. It lasts for quite a while. It's sort of a wine glass shape, so you get that nice leafy shape to look at all summer long. And then in the fall, it comes all kinds of wonderful colors.
And you can tell it's native, the witch hazel, or I'm sorry, the job that I showed you in Exeter with the big rock, there's witch hazel all over the woods, in native in that area. So certain areas you'll find native witch hazel growing.
This is sort of the rich type.
This is the rich type.
Okay,
Not
So-
an invasive plant?
Pardon me?
Not an invasive plant?
No, it's not.
I
No.
wish so.
so this tree we left, trees over here have all been taken down. My old fence has been taken down, and they're replacing with nice cobblestone type walkway, all of this to match the cobblestones. We're gonna put cobblestones at the end. You know, the gardens are being expanded over here. There's essentially nothing here right now. This is being reworked, and the stuff that I had, the flagstones that I set myself in the stone dust that didn't look that great, they're coming out, and we'll do somewhere else. So they gave me this is what all of them look like. So if I didn't know what some of those were, they're showing me what these flowers are going to look like. Okay, they don't all bloom, as they said, at the exact same time, but there's some hydrangea. You can describe them probably better, but you know, you can see different color greens. So because I, especially in my front, didn't want a lot of things like daffodils that I have to go out and keep cutting down every time they died. I'll do that in the back, but I didn't want to do it in the front. I already have a lot in my back. So
One of the things that, you know, a good designer will do is repeat things. There's a Japanese andromeda on the side of Nancy's house that's still there, and it's nice. And so Wiki has taken, I think, the thing that's just below the witch hazel, it's a Japanese andromeda. Wiki has repeated that, I think, on the right side over by where the forsythia was, on the right side of the garage. So you repeat the good things, you use the shrubs that are good, You recognize that it's fairly shady there, so a lot of the things that are flowering in the shade. So the turtle heads in there? Yeah, so it's along, that's what's below the here. It's the third one down. And turtle heads are blooming right now. It's a nice pink flowering plant that grows in the shade. That's flowering. So, anything else you want to say?
I was just gonna say that sort of when I was thinking of what would work, so we were going for low maintenance, using shrubs, things like that. I tried to do different colors of green, different textures, different flowering kinds, and then in some times, like there's actually two kinds of azaleas, one is going to be about 5 feet tall, flowers in May, and other ones are going to be only 2 feet tall, so we put the same plant with a different kind of it, so you get to repeat it without being monotonous, if that makes sense. So it's almost a textural, visual, it's not monotone exactly, but some parts of the season, are all green, which should be interesting.
I think if you're like me, and you go to the nursery, you just look for a rhododendron, you just look for something, you have no idea how tall it's gonna get, you maybe know what color it's going to be. I realized I'm not very good at buying them and putting in myself. I'm really too lazy to dig the hole big enough for the root ball, because it's hard to dig. And so I, at this point, am saying, do it right, make me look like a classic, mature, sophisticated cape instead of a tired old farmhouse that I pulled the asbestos siding off of.
And the rhododendrons, Nancy, which she has some rhododendrons in front of her house, which she doesn't like,
Well, they're just kind of like 3 sticks, you know, they're not like lovely shrubs.
but they're gonna be okay, because
Yeah.
we're transplanting them over against the woods. Rhododendrons
them right
are
there.
an edged species, and they're not really meant to grow in front of houses as part of a foundation planting. They grow on the edge of the woodlands, so naturally, that's where they grow. So we transplanted them to the edge of the woodlands where they don't show up as much, but 2 years from now, I think Nancy will like them again. I hope.
And if not, they're off to the edge and they don't bother me. So this is the plant names and the variety that they're putting in. And so this is going to be the sophisticated version of my house, okay? I didn't have any of it really in its worst condition because I've sort of been hacking away at it myself. Someone in this room is one of my friends who helps me chainsaw when I say, cut this off, cut this, trim this. But, you know, I never had a full plan, okay? And now my driveway's gonna look nice. My garage doors have been replaced, the paint's been done. But I'm gonna have nice walkways, I'm gonna have nice front steps. And I'm gonna have beautiful plantings, okay? However, all of us believe that the classic cape still needs a fence, okay? Especially where I'm in a busy street straight across from the school. And so we're putting the fence back, and it is where it is for that thing I mentioned earlier, where it has to be 25 feet off the center line, okay? I can't put it up at the front, that's not my land. It has to be back, and for me, it's a good 8 feet off of the road, okay? And so it will go there. My fence used to go all the way to here, and the driveway man could not plow the snow, okay? So we had to take it, he's pulling it back on each side 8 feet, so that they can now plow my driveway and push the snow where it has to go, okay? And so, and again, I know some people like wood, having painted this fence myself 5 times at least, okay? If you've never painted, I've tried spray guns, I've tried hand painting, buy a plastic fence. Not everyone in this room agrees with me on that, but.
No, I want to do what the customer wants,
Yeah.
but I will say, look at the scale. I think this would be a 3-foot plastic fence, vinyl fence. I think if that had been drawn as a 4-foot vinyl fence, it would have been too tall. Okay, it's kind of a classic mistake. The other classic mistake is to think that fences just have to go, it's like there's a law, the fence has to go with the property line. People then assume that the property line is the road, but even on the sidelines, a lot of times fences look so much better if they're given some depth. You can create courtyards with fences, but give the fence some depth off the road. Even if Nancy, owned right to the road, I would say, do this, I think it looks better. I would advocate for a few flowers here and there, or some roses on the fence, but that, I think it adds a lot to have the grass in front of the fence instead of having it dead up against the road, even if she could do it. I would recommend it.
So, you're looking